Did Fantastic Four ruin my faith in humanity? You bet your ass it did, but this film helped restore some of that, and that film is The Gift. The Gift is a independent psychological thriller written, directed, and starring Joel Edgerton, and it also stars Jason Bateman and Rebecca Hall. Now, when I first heard of this movie, I was a little skeptical because it's Joel Edgerton's first time writing and directing a film, and it's a smaller film, so he had some leeway. He didn't have. It's not like he was handed a Marvel franchise or a DC cinematic extended universe, whatever you want to call it, this week. I first heard about it and I saw the trailers. I wasn't really too excited about seeing it, but then I started hearing the good reviews about it and I gave it a chance and I was really pleasantly surprised. I agree with pretty much a bulk of the critics on this one. There's no jump scares. I mean, there's tension, kind of similar to how James Wan builds tension, only James Wan is a master at it and Joel Edgerton is sort of, you could tell he really took some cues from James Wan's directing style, and I really enjoyed how he built some of that tension up and then rewarded it with satisfying scares and not wasted him on jump scares, just primarily on jump scares. It didn't really need to rely on that because this is, like I said, it's at the beginning, this is a psychological thriller. So the best parts of this film are actually not the scares, but it's the psychological aspect. And I've always been a big fan of psychological movies, movies that make you think. And this movie definitely is one of them because at the beginning you start to kind of think, oh, well, Joel Edgerton's character, he's the bad guy because he holds a grudge or something like that against Jason Bateman's character. But then you start to kind of see that maybe Joel Edgerton isn't the bad guy at all, but in fact he's the victim in all this, and Jason Bateman is in reality the bad guy because he knows what he's running from. Gordo, Joel Edgerton's character, is trying to confront him on that and trying to let bygones be bygones, basically. The meat of this movie really happens a little more than halfway through, and you kind of start to see some of the psychological aspects really come out and come to play. The first part is really just building up that tension to the first part, but they do it in such an interesting way where it doesn't feel wasted. It doesn't feel like wasted time. It feels all necessary. So when the twist happens, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a very good twist. You're kind of in the middle. You're kind of in the middle of whether or not you think, well, that was right for the characters that it happens to, or you think that's wrong. You know, it's like in between karmic justice and cruelty. For a first-time director, I have to say I was very impressed with Joel Edgerton. But not just with how he built the tension, but also with his writing style. I mean, not many actors can make that successful transition, let alone into screenwriting or directing. I mean, you only have like a handful that you can really name off the top of your head, and that's Clint Eastwood, Ben Affleck, maybe Sean Penn, and there's probably a handful of others that I can't think of, but those are just the three that I can think of off the top of my head that have made a successful transition. So I think Joel Edgerton can make that transition, and I hope the next one he tackles is more dramatic, because I think he can, because the one thing I take away from this film that Joel Edgerton did really well as a first-time director was getting the performances from his actors. That is something that not many directors are very good at these days, and it takes a very talented director, and I think it comes from the fact that Joel Edgerton was an actor first and then turned director, because he really knows what a director is looking for in a performance, and he probably used his knowledge of working with directors in the past to pull those performances out of Rebecca Hall and Jason Bateman, who were just phenomenal. I mean, Jason Bateman, he's always been in that comedic role, and in this one he really broke away. I mean, I just saw his movie Disconnected yesterday, and that was I think that might have been like his second foray into pure drama, because I know he did Juno, but that was more of a comedic drama. But this one was like his first, I would say that was his first full-fledged dramatic role. And now I don't think a lot of people give him credit for that role. I haven't really heard much. I mean, they say that this one he lost himself more in the role. You don't see Jason Bateman at all, and I agree. But I think because he did that, he had that role in Disconnected, he was able to bring that performance out of himself again in this movie, The Gift. And it really shows because he plays an unlikable guy. Yeah. So all in all, this movie is about 90 minutes, and it's good that it's 90 minutes because it addresses all the beats perfectly. It has a nice flow, the pace is just amazing, and it never strays from the main storyline. It always ties back in some way or another, and I highly recommend this movie. So I give Gordo a 7 out of 10. Well, if you liked this video and you found it helpful, click the like button and also hit subscribe. Make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our podcast feed on iTunes and Stitcher Radio at the Nerdy Geeky Freaky Podcast. I'm Mike. See you soon.